The magnificent Colorado River is one of the natural wonders of the world. Originating high in the Colorado Rockies and running 1,400 miles to the Gulf of California in Mexico. Hi, I'm Robert Fuller. Please join me and my guest celebrities in the coming weeks. If you do, you'll share with us the excitement and adventure of exploring the spectacular land created by the mighty Colorado River. My guest this week is Morgan Woodward, a cowboy's cowboy. Of course, being a native Texan doesn't hurt. Morgan has appeared in over 250 TV and motion picture films. His formidable face has been cast in the part of the heavy so many times, Newsweek magazine once said he was named one of the 6 most wanted bad guys in television and motion pictures. I'm standing in God's country, about 8,000 feet up in the Colorado Rockies, 85 miles west of Denver in Granby, Colorado. Now, some historians will tell you that the Colorado River starts as a trickle of water higher up in the Rocky Mountain National Park, and that's true. But that trickle flows into Lake Granby, and then flows out of this headwater to become the Grand, as she used to be called. Today it's called the mighty Colorado River. And it wasn't until 2,000 years ago that humans began venturing into these valleys and mountains. The Utes and then the Arapaho controlled this vast area until the United States government acquired 358 square miles in the huge Louisiana Purchase of 1803. In 1843, Scenes in the Rocky Mountains was written by Rufus Sage. He spent 4 years exploring the area. We hope to bring you some of the excitement he must have experienced in our adventure down the 1,400-mile run the Colorado makes to the Gulf of California. The Ute Indians call the land running along the Colorado from Granby to Glenwood Springs their Magic Valley, and for good reason. Each season here has its own magic for fishermen, hikers, hunters, and skiers. There is magic here for everyone. Our adventure this week finds us 4,000 feet up on the Colorado Plateau in Moab, Utah. Moab is the only city in Utah on the Colorado River. Don't go away, we'll be right back. The course of the Colorado River that flows by Moab, Utah, holds some of the most dramatic scenery you could hope to experience. If you spend any amount of time here at all, you begin to understand how perfectly this landscape matches the many dramas that were played out here between the cowboys and the outlaws that have become legends. Forever a part of the mystique of the Colorado River, Butch Cassidy and the Hole-in-the-Wall Gang. The cowboys of this area were as tough and hard as the ground they rode over. Their faces are not the romantic images we've seen popularized in movies for years. Butch Cassidy was no Paul Newman, that's for sure. Riding through here is like riding through history. Gunplay Maxwell of the Robbers Roost Gang. You can almost feel the ghosts of the miners, ranchers, sheepmen, and lone frontiersmen that made the Colorado River a part of America's soul forever.
Morgan, on your left!
Uh-oh.
Let's take them like they're standing.
Let's do it.
You know, Bob, the life and times of the Old West, it's gone forever.
No, I know what you mean, Morgan. But I never tire of the drama of the good guys and the bad guys.
Along the Colorado, you had it all. There were as many different ways to follow the lure of gold as there were people going after it. The outlaw had one way, the cowboy had another.
That's right. But let's go find out about another way to go for the gold. You know, today you can still pan for gold on the Colorado. Don't go away. We'll be right back. There are as many stories about gold mining as there are gold miners along this stretch of the Colorado. Morgan, say hi to John Kaiser.
Hey, John, how you doing?
Pretty good. How are you, Morgan?
Fine, good to see you.
Pleasure to meet you.
John's going to show us how to get some gold out of the Colorado.
Well, that's good. I could use some change.
Well, we're going to try to find some of this finer gold along the Colorado here, Morgan. And what I want to start out doing here is I want to use an old Spanish technique of location. And it's called dowsing or witching. And we got these L rods right here with a sample of placer gold right in the tips. The first thing I do is I warm them up a little bit by twirling them like that. And then you have to be, you have to have a little touch for this. It takes a little practice. You have to hold them level. And it's showing me that we might have something over here to our right. So I'm gonna walk down here a ways and try it again. Looks like it might be something in this gravel down here. It likes to collect in the gravel in these boulders. Yeah, and they cross out right there. So when they cross over each other, that means I'm standing, or I'm holding the rods directly over top of a deposit. It's a hot pocket. Yeah. Then I'll drop them and slowly raise them. And if they cross out like that, which they are, that tells me I got some gold down there. So I can be about 80 to 90% sure with these rods.
80 or 90%. Is it
Well,
works out that way? all the
That's
time?
my efficiency rating after the years that I've been doing it. I've been doing it for quite a few years.
So in theory, there's 85% chance that there's some gold right around in that area.
That's
in front of
right,
you.
within about a 2-foot radius right there.
Any idea before you start looking for it how much? Or can you tell that at all?
Well, that comes with experience, Bob, but I would say it feels like a pretty strong pull to me.
Well, I'm ready to stake
Yeah,
the claim
so-
right there. Right?
Yeah, let's see what do you do next?
Get a gold pan, and we'll try a little gold panning if you fellas want to do that.
Don't go away. You might miss our gold strike.
Now, we're doing this because the gold is heavy and it's going to go to the bottom. Is
That's
that it?
right.
We're shaking it up a little bit.
That's
right?
a good point. The gold is the
Okay.
second heaviest thing in Mother Nature. There's only one other thing heavier, and that's platinum. So the gold's going to drop to the bottom once you stir it up a little bit.
Right, right.
Okay, now once you got that good and stirred up, Morgan, then
Yep,
just stop spinning and just kind of lean it right over the riffles there, right over those
Right,
ledges.
right.
Try to get about a tablespoonful of dirt to go out.
Morgan, that's not. What is that gold-looking thing right there? That looks. Is that a rock?
Looks like gold to me.
Come
Solid
here,
gold.
what is that?
Solid gold.
Oh, that isn't gold. Huh?
I ain't dividing it either.
We're gonna have a gunfight going there pretty quick over this. We were friends until the end, and this is where the friendship
Well,
ends.
you know what gold does to a man's mind. Just drives him plumb crazy. Ain't that right?
There's a story I researched a couple of years ago, reading in some old library books and stuff, and it's a story about a fellow by the name of Blackjack Ketchum, and he was kind of a notorious, dangerous outlaw. He had a small gang of 2 men, and they had got word somehow of a stage carrying an army payroll leaving Denver, and this was in the late 1870s. And so they got that stage over in western Colorado, across the border here, and held it up. And there was $50,000 in fresh minted double gold eagles. And the way the story goes is they went up in an area in the LaSalle Mountains here, about 20 miles east of us. And there's a mining camp up in there in those days called Gold Basin. And so they were laying low up in Gold Basin pretending they were panning gold, because they figured there was posses out looking for them. And they stayed up in there for several weeks, and they buried that 50,000, and they made a deal between themselves to come back in about 6 months in the springtime and split the 50,000 up. So Blackjack, he headed down south into northern New Mexico, and the 2 other fellas drifted back over into Colorado. And the one fella, he got killed in a saloon shootout. The other fella, he caught a case of pneumonia. So Blackjack Ketchum was the only one left, and somebody recognized him down in a small town in New Mexico from a wanted poster. And they jailed him and tried him in a court, and he was found guilty, and they were going to hang him for several robberies and murders. So when it came time to hang Blackjack, he was in jail for 30 days, and he had gained quite a bit of weight. And they hadn't tested the gallows thoroughly like they should have for his weight. And when they hung him, his head popped off.
Head popped.
Yeah, decapitated him, jerked his head clean off his shoulders. Yeah.
Well, John, I don't wanna scare you, but if you don't start giving me some better dirt, you might be in the same predicament old Blackjack was in. Is that right, Bob?
Yeah, it sounds like it to me. But wait a minute, now what's the moral of that story, John?
Well, the moral of that story is don't lose your head over some gold. even if you think you got a good lead to it, whether it be man-made gold or natural gold like what we're looking for. But that gold's supposed to be buried about, it's about 20 miles east of here up in the LaSalle Mountains in the Gold Basin District.
Well, I want to verify that it's 20 miles away from here because it sure is not here. Hey, look at this. Look at this.
Oh, Morgan.
Now, don't tell me that's not.
Wait a
Hey.
minute. Wait a minute.
Look.
That's a big
Look at that.
Look at all of that.
Look at that.
You got some flat flakes in there, Morgan.
That is neat.
Look at that one floating. Now that's real gold, but it'll float because of the
How can gold float?
well, there's a lot of mineralization in the water.
One,
Microscopic
2, 3.
mineralization. Here, let me see if I can snatch it out of there real quick.
John, you better show me where you got this. We better go back.
Yeah, I
to
want to
that
know
same hole.
scoop of where his came from, too.
Well, we got a pretty good showing there though. For
I'll tell you, I believe every man, once in his life, has got to look for gold.
Absolutely. I've always thought that. I've always wanted to do
yeah, I believe that's right. Yeah, everybody should try it once.
Storytelling was as much a part of being a cowboy as riding a horse. Whether he was spinning a yarn while panning gold on the river or recounting a tale by a nighttime campfire, the cowboy stories became the making of legends.
Well, now, young Jack Potter was a man who really knew his steers. From the burr nests in their tail hairs to the ticks that gnawed on their ears, he was a Texarkan and a cowman to the settled bred and born, and it was said that Jack could count a trail herd on the moon and never miss a horn. But on a tally day back in 1884, old Jack, he got to dreaming, and he surely did miss the score. The old man, he knew the symptoms. He said, "Jack, you ain't no good to me like this. I'll give you just 10 days off to go find out what's amiss." Well, amiss was just what was ailing Jack, for he'd fallen in love for sure with the gal named Cordiette, mighty pretty, sweet and pure. So now Jack, he rode 100 miles, a-sweating with the thought of sweet some words to ask her the way a feller ought. "I'm just a humble cowhand, Miss Cordy, if you please, that's here to ask your heart and hand upon my bended knees." Well, it sounded mighty simple, thus rehearsed upon the trail, but when Jackie got to Cordy's house, his words all seemed to fail. 'Twas, "Howdy, ma'am, and how's the crops, and how's your ma and pa?" For when it come to asking her, he couldn't come to talk. He took her to a dance one night, and the horse she rode was his. "He's a dandy little pony," she says. "Well, yep," says Jack, "he is." They rode home late together, and the moon was riding high, and Jackie got to talking about the stars up in the sky and the way they'd guide a trail herd just like they do seagoing ships. But words of love and marriage, they just wouldn't pass his lips. So he got to talking again about this hoss she was riding. He said, "You'll note he's fancy gaited and don't never fight his head." "Oh, he's a dandy little pony," she agrees, and heaves a sigh. Jack says, "Well, you could have him. That is, maybe when I die." He hoped that she might savvy what he meant or even guess and give him that sweet answer which he longed for, namely yes. But when he got to Cordy's house, he was still a-wondering how he'd ever asked the question, and he had to do it now or wait and sweat and suffer till the drive was done that fall, and then maybe she'd be married and he'd lose her after all. He took her saddle to the barn and he led his pony to the gate, and he said, "I reckon I'll be drifting, ma'am. It's getting kind of late." Oh, her eyes was bright as starlight, and her lips looked sweet as flowers. Jack says, "Now, about this here pony, ma'am. Is he mine, or is he ours?" "Our pony, Jack," she says, and her voice was soft as moss. Jack says he kissed her, but she says he kissed the hoss.
The myth and the reality of the cowboy has been a very special part of my life, and I feel very lucky to have been here along this stretch of the Colorado River and to have experienced the place these cowboys made legendary.
The cowboy and the outlaw hold forever a unique place in the heart and soul of the American character. It's been a real pleasure to be a part of the Colorado River adventure, Bob.
Morgan, until we meet again.
I hope it's soon.
You bet. I hope you'll be with us next week when we'll see a whole new aspect of Moab and the Colorado. Frank Bonner, who is just a delightful man, will be my guest. I'm sure you've enjoyed him as Herb on WKRP in Cincinnati, but you'll enjoy him even more when he joins us with his son Justin on our next adventure.